SimCoder here, and today we are going to move on and start working on our database and authentication system for our Tinder app. So you'll need to first of all go into the Firebase page, and we are going to create a new project. I'm going just to skim through this because I've already done both in the Uber project and on my standalone Firebase tutorial. You can check them out. So let's just create a project called TINDER and wait for it to create. Okay, after that has finished loading, we arrive in this screen and we are going to associate our Firebase project, whatever we want to call it, with our Android Studio project. So click Android. Let's go into our Tinder project. If you don't have this code, please check out my previous lesson and grab the code from there and watch the lesson, of course. Now you'll need the SHA1 code, and to do that, as I've done before, go to Gradle, Tinder, actually Tasks, Android Signing Report, and double click that. It will spit out a bunch of things, but we only need this code. Grab it and paste it there. Okay. Okay, after that is over and done with, download the Google JSON. Downloads, okay. Can go in here and just wait a minute. We can't do it right now. Let's change this to project or packages. Can't remember. Project. Yeah, project. And we are going just to grab it and move it inside app. Oh, okay. That's done. Continue. Now let's work on the dependencies and the Gradle. Just need to pass this in here. Wait for it to sync. Go into our build Gradle, the other one where we actually have the dependencies. That was just the class path, and we are going to apply this plugin at the end. Remember, always after the dependencies. Okay, we don't need to sync it right now. Let's just see if everything is okay. It appeared. Now we are going to add the dependencies that we need. So we are going to use both the authentication and the database. And in a more future lesson, we are going to actually learn how to save images to the, how is it called? The storage. But that's after, so we won't be adding the dependency for that. We'll just be adding the dependencies that we need. So core, compile, let's just add a bunch. Okay, database, obviously, there we are going to store everything that we need. Storage not right now, and auth. Oops. Okay. So I believe that's everything that we need for now. Let me just check, yeah. So I can go back in here and we can sync it. In the meantime, while it is syncing, let's go into our authentication page and set up a sign-in method and enable email and password. We are only going to be using email and password for now, as it is the easiest one. If you want, you can obviously move on to the others, but for now, let's keep it simple. Stupid simple, as they say. It is the best approach. Okay, so it is finished. And now we are going to actually start working on our code. The setup is done, and we are going to need a first page where we are going to choose between the login and the registration page. Then we are going to have the login page and a registration page. Both of them are going to be separate because the registration page will require a bunch of items that I don't want you to get confused. So I'm going to do that a bit different from the Uber app, the Uber project that we did, and we're going to do it separate. Also, we need to check in all of these pages if the user is logged in, and if the user is logged in, then we move on to the main activity, which is going to be this one, and where the user can both swipe left and right for the potential partners. Let's say it like that. So yeah, let's go ahead and move this to Android, and let's start working on our code. So first of all, we need the choose login or registration activity. Let's create an empty activity and say choose, just to make it real clear, login registration activity. Okay, we don't want to add it to the Git right now. Okay, so now let's close the main activity just to keep it clear. Can collapse that. Okay, so we are not going to use this constraint layout. I don't like it, so let's move to a linear layout. Let's say orientation to vertical, and in here we're going to have two buttons. Button with can be match pair, doesn't matter. So the first button is going to be the login button, which is going to take us to the login page, ID login. Oops, let's copy this button and create another one. Just the same, the difference is the text and the ID. Let's call it register. Okay, and ID the same. Okay, after that is all done and over with, we can call the buttons on our main activity. I'm assuming you have basic knowledge of Android Studio, so I'm not going to explain this in full detail. Please keep that in mind. So, register, and let's call the find views by IDs in here. Find view by ID r.id.login. Let's copy and paste that. Register. Okay, so that is done. We can go ahead and call the m.onClickListener. Listener, and do the same for the register button. Okay, so we are going to leave it right like this for now. We are going to add the next page. Actually, can add it now. Let's take it to the main activity, and after we are done writing everything, we can just come in here and change the page to reach this intent. So new intent, say choose login registration activity dot this, and main activity dot class. Okay, so now start activity intent, finish, and return. Just so that we can move around and you aren't stuck to this page. So before we advance to the registration and the login, we need to make this our first page, because right now the page where the app starts is in main activity, and we don't want that, obviously. So let's close that, and in here move this intent filter. That will do it. It's everything that we need, and now it should be working. So let's move on to the registration page. What do you think? Yeah, let's start with the registration page. So activity, empty activity, as always, registration activity. Start it. Can leave it as is, and we can actually come in here and move the intent. We call it registration activity. Is all done? Yeah. So let me just check. Okay, okay. So we are going to we are only going to take care of the authentication. We are not going to take care of the database. So we won't be linking the accounts to the database. We are only going to focus on registration and login on this lesson. Otherwise, it will become way too long. So for the time being, we are only going to add 2 fields to the registration, which is the email and the password, because that's everything that we need to both register and make the login for the account. So we can make match parents, wrap contents, the height. Let's put a name of email, just so we know which one is which. So email ID. Let's make the same for the password. Password. Oh, forgot the orientation of the linear layout. So orientation vertical. Make sure they all stock up like this. And finally, we need a button to finalize the registration. Button. Content, actually match parents, make it look all nice and pretty. So tag register and ID also register. Don't forget to give names that make sense to all these things, the IDs and the variables, otherwise it becomes really confusing, mainly for other people to see the code and to evaluate it if they are going to do that. So button register. Also, when you are calling objects, it is always a good how do you say it? It is good practice to say an M and then the first letter to be capitalized. So this is my register, my password, my email. Okay, always do that with objects. Next we are going to call the edit text. So M email and M password. Okay. Now that that's all done and over with, we can call the find view by IDs and go ahead and do that right now. This is the most boring part of the code because it is just moving things around and it is always the same, but it has to be done, so there's no going around it. But actually there is, I've heard of a plugin that you can use that automatically calls the objects and you don't need to do find view by ID. Actually, I believe I need to search it and maybe do a video on it, because I believe that always having to write all these things is monotonous and boring, and as coders we should make our lives easier, not harder. So yeah, maybe I'll do a video on that. I'll check it out. Find view by ID, password. Don't know where he got that from. So we need set on quick listener for the register button, so whenever the user clicks on the register button, this function will be called. And now we can actually start working on our authentication system. So to do that, we'll need both a listener for the state of the login, the login status, and a Firebase auth that's going to trigger the listener. So let me do that. Private Firebase auth, and private Firebase auth state listener. Firebase auth state listener is the name of the variable. Oh, oops, here is my auth. And now you are going to start by doing the listener. The listener will be checking for the status of the login, logins user. If he logins, logs out. Every time there's a change in the login status, the listener will be called, and this moff will be changed. So that's how we know that the registration was successful. So if a registration is successful, the user will be automatically logged in, and we can move on to the main activity. That's why we must do this. So new Firebase auth state listener, and as you can see, it says auth state change. So every time the auth changes, something happens that triggers this function. And now the way you know that, because this function is called both when the user logs in and logs out, we can know which one is which by calling a variable of the type Firebase user, and this will have all the information on the import it. It is going to have the information on the current logged-in user, or if the user isn't logged in, this user will be null because there is no user logged in at the current moment. So Firebase auth get instance get current user. Now, if the user is different from null, that means that the user is logged in and we can move on to the next page. So to do that, we simply say intent as we did before. Actually, I'm going to grab it, not main activity issues. I'm going to grab all this code because it is a lot to write. Let's change it to registration activity and to main activity. Okay, if the user is different from null, then we can do that. If it isn't, then nothing is done. We stay on this page and the user can choose if he wants to register or not. I believe that's really straightforward. So now let's go into our registration pane. Registration set on click listener, I'm sorry. And let's grab both the email and the password. So final string email equals to an email dot get text dot toString, and do the same for the password because we need them both. Password, and now we are going to call mauth dot create user with email and password. I'm astonished by the fact that it is this simple to create a user. That's why I love Firebase. As I've said before, it is really easy to overcomplicate things in coding in general. And so whenever something like this comes along that really makes it easy for us to do our job, or our hobby, or wherever coding is to you, I'm really pumped up, and I'm glad that something like this exists. So new on complete listener, and now we are going to check if the creation was successful or not. And to do that, we only need to say if task dot is successful, if not task, sorry. So if this if is triggered, that means that the registration wasn't successful, and so this on or off state listener won't be called because the user won't be logged in after the registration. Okay, so if it isn't successful, we can make a small toast dot make text register activity dot this sign up error. Oops, forgot the. I don't know how you call these things actually. I know in my own language, but I don't know in English. So type down below how you say it in English so that I know for the next lessons, please. And make toast dot length short. It doesn't need to be long. And show. Okay, so it is all done. Only one thing we must do, and that's actually start this listener, because it won't start just with this, and stop it when the activity is closed. So on start, when the activity starts, let's put it like this Firebase of state listener must be called upon and started. So to do that, we simply call the method onStart, and we just say we attribute a listener to this variable, not equal add state listener Firebase of state listener. And to remove it when the activity is closed, simply say onStop dot remove of state listener Firebase of state listener. And that's all done and over with. We have a registration completely working right now, I believe. Let's hope so. So yeah, let's move on to the login page, and it is going to be really similar to this, so we can do a lot of copy and pasting around, and we'll get it to work in no time. So let's create a new activity, login activity, finish. No, I don't want it to go to the GitHub. Now let's just grab the activity, the registration XML, because it is the same for now. In the next lesson it will be different, but for now it is the same. So let's just change this to login and the ID to login. Now we have this, and we are going to just copy everything. Literally everything. Only a small portion of the code is different. Annotations are not allowed here. Oh, okay. Let's grab, as I said, everything that's inside, minus the set content view. That's, for now it doesn't make much difference, but it will crash because the ID of the button is different. So make sure you have the right view in here. Let's just change login activity. In here, login activity. No. Login activity. And in here it is sign in error. And now the only thing of importance that changes is this. Instead of create user with email and password, you simply say sign in with email and password. It's just that. Okay. Make sure you erase all of the errors. Why is it giving an error here? Oops. Okay. Okay. Let's change the button name and ID, obviously. That's extremely important, otherwise it will crash. Login. And that's it. Let's just launch the app and see where it takes us, if there are any errors detected or not. Actually, well, oh, forgot. Go to choose login and registration activity and add the login activity to the intent, otherwise you can't go to the login page. So yeah, let's run and see if it all checks out. In here, okay, so now that that has finished loading, no errors, I believe. Let's go into register and create a new account. Just call it test@test.com. Say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Register. It should be exactly. That's what we wanted. Let's just reload and see if the account is in the authentication pane, and here it is. So yeah, it is working. Let's just uninstall and start again and try to enter through the login activity to see if that is working. And for now we must uninstall in order to log out the user. We'll take care of the sign out button in the previous lesson. For now we just want to make sure that everything is working. So let's go into login, test@test.com, and let's make a wrong password. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 instead of 6 and see if an error exactly. Okay, so now let's log in like this and it should work just fine, and here we are. So yeah, I believe that's all for this lesson. In the next one, we'll be going over how to connect the accounts to the database and dividing it into male and female, because that's what's going to allow us to search for, because let's assume that for a guy, he doesn't want to find guys, and for a girl that she doesn't want to find girls. So that way it is easier. If you want to advance it a bit further, you can, but I'll leave that up to you. So yeah, leave a like, subscribe, donate if you can, follow me on Twitter. I'll be posting a lot of relevant stuff there, and yeah, ciao.